Hi, it's Kian Boon. In one of my videos, I discussed the case for leader of the opposition, Mr. Pritam Singh, to go all out in this election. Thanks to all of you for sharing your views because the comment section exploded. Some of you really dislike the aggressive strategy. So today, let's talk through the alternative. For the Workers' Party to consolidate in GE2025 and play defense. Let's start with the state of things with the Workers' Party. Today, they are firmly entrenched in the northeast. Hougang SMC is held together by Mr. Dennis Tan, a WP veteran since 2012. He won with over 61% of the votes in 2020. Aljunied GRC is anchored by WP veterans, Mr. Pritam Singh and Ms. Sylvia Lim. They won re-election in 2020 with just under 60% of the votes. Lastly, the freshly minted Sengkang GRC was first won in 2020 by Mr. James Lim and Ms. He Ting-ru, marginally with just over 52% of the votes. Just looking at the numbers, Hougang and Aljunied look pretty safe. However, Sengkang is surely going to be a hot battleground in the upcoming elections. Back in 2020, the PAP team led by former Minister Mr. Ng Chee Meng was poor in my opinion. In an area with a sizable number of young families, they chose to go in with a team of 4 men. They may understand the challenges faced by fathers, but mothers? Not so much. Also, ex-Minister Ng did not exactly build a lot of goodwill when he crossed swords with WP spiritual leader Mr. Loh Tia Kiang in Parliament during the 2018 debates.
The Worker Party says that the GST is a distraction. The Worker Party thinks that finding the ways to fund all these programs is a distraction.
Because he's referring to my speech, I say it's the distraction. GST increase can be a distraction because then we ended up debating, is there a need to increase GST?
You can't have the cake and eat it.
No, Speaker, I stand what I say.
So this could have galvanized a lot of anti-PAP sentiments that delivered the marginal victory to the Workers' Party. Also in 2020, Sengkang was in a bad place. Today, Sengkang is a whole other animal altogether. All this positive development are a double-edged sword for the Workers' Party. While a lot of the credit will go to them, it also means that the 2020 resentment for then incumbent PAP is no longer present. Also, recognition for the WP's good work could be directly attributed to the cult personalities of Mr. James Lim and Ms. He Ting-ru. So either of them leaving could see all that goodwill disappear with them, and this may well tilt the calculus at the voting booths. And that is dangerous given the razor-thin margins from the 2020 election. Speaking of personalities, this is a good segue into the HR issues that the Workers' Party had in recent years. The incumbent at Sengkang GRC will suffer the backlash from Ms. Raeesah Khan's incident. If you want the full rundown of what happened, you can check out the video in the link above or in the description. But in a nutshell, Ms. Khan was caught lying in Parliament, and in events that transpired, leader of the opposition Mr. Pritam Singh got embroiled and was eventually convicted for lying under oath to Parliament in relation to Ms. Khan's lie. Also in another HR incident, Mr. Leon Perera of Aljunied GRC admitted to an affair with fellow WP member Ms. Nicole Seah from the East Coast GRC team. Both had resigned in 2023. So let's dig a bit into the implications. My view is that these issues are not top of mind for residents of WP held regions. I think one of the reasons is that the PAP also had a fair share of impropriety on their end. In 2023, they had to part way with Speaker of Parliament and MP Mr. Tan Chuan Jin, who admitted to an extramarital affair with another MP, Ms. Cheng Li Hui. More importantly, these days, residents are concerned about their day-to-day lives. People are already worried about survival amidst high cost of living, job insecurities. They have no time to be concerned over HR issues with their elected representatives. However, the implications of political strategy are more striking. First, the loss of Mr. Perera, a ranking member of the WP party and representative of the Serangoon division in Aljunied GRC, for the Workers' Party to not retain every single remaining member of the original 2020 winning team, that could put a bitter taste in the mouth of residents who were promised this A team only to get a less than A team in the next election. So let me draw a PAP parallel from the last election in East Coast. At the time, residents were promised a future Prime Minister, Mr. Heng Swee Keat. You would have expected that any Prime Minister's GRC is going to be well taken care of. So you can also see why residents who voted for PAP for that very reason were left with very sour grapes when Mr. Heng announced a reversal. And on a more strategic level, WP has grown into the most credible opposition party in Singapore. So that comes with growing pains.
And that's why people have called the Workers' Party PAP Light or PAP-like. It's almost a position where whatever line or stand the PAP has taken, you basically use that as your reference point, then take a half step to the left.
And occasionally you hear Singaporeans echoing Minister Vivian Balakrishnan's claim that WP is PAP light. A criticism that has been levelled against some members of PAP is that they only appear during the election year and abandon them in the next fall. So if Mr. Pritam Singh or Ms. Sylvia Lim left Aljunied GRC to contest elsewhere, it would draw some parallels and exacerbate that descending chorus of PAP association. On top of that, the spectre of the Aljunied Hougang Town Council, or the AHTC Saga, still hangs over Mr. Singh and Ms. Lim. Long story short, even though they were found to have acted in good faith, the whole episode showed that the WP leadership were not able to exercise good judgment when it was needed. And my view is that not enough time has passed since the conclusion of this 7-year saga mid last year. So if WP leaders were to leave Aljunied to pursue greener pastures, so to speak, voters that have turned their cheeks the first time around may not continue to do so if they perceive their leaders to have abandoned them. So given the potential onslaught of negativity coming from pursuing any action other than staying the course, WP could do well to stay put in Aljunied and look to build on the almost 60% mandate from 2020. And lastly, we have the OG of the Workers' Party since 1991. The Hougang SMC is arguably infallible at this point, and one could make the argument that WP veteran Mr. Dennis Tan could head up for the hunt. I would say that if the WP is willing to tolerate that risk, let a new face come into Hougang and have Mr. Tan replace Ms. Lim or Mr. Singh in Aljunied GRC because their star power could yield higher odds of success elsewhere. But again, doing this could well unleash those negative sentiments that we spoke about earlier. So therefore, I think Mr. Tan's value is probably best maximized in being that steady hand holding on to Hougang. So far, the arguments seem to support that this will be another wash election for Workers' Party, holding the fort, preserving what they already have. Well, not really. Let's talk through some of the ideas that can build the future for the Workers' Party. First, let me first say that the Workers' Party have been strategic in planting seeds in the election off-cycle. A lot of grassroots efforts have been done in what is Punggol GRC today, Tampines GRC, basically the northeast and east parts of Singapore. So playing defense in the present does not equate to not playing for the future. So from Nicole Seah to Raeesah Khan, there's a lot to be said about the selection process of WP candidates. So this process can be tightened strategically in this election cycle. So here's how. So in GE2025, there's a lot of realistic hunting ground for the WP, literally spoiled for choice. East Coast, Marine Parade, Braddell Heights, Punggol, Tampines, you name it. Deploying new faces in these battlegrounds allows the party to assess their popularity and longer-term suitability in politics. Also, it builds a longer period of gestation for residents to see candidates not just during the off-cycle, but also during the election years, allowing a more holistic presentation of new faces to the residents across years, not just months. So this is a stratagem that PAP has used for their benefit for decades now. Through the argument that Singaporeans should vote for people who are familiar, tried and tested, and seen. Of course, most times they refer to the likes of sitting ministers and key appointment holders. Now, you heard about the case for defense. If you checked out the other video in the description, you also heard about the case for offense. What are your thoughts on these different strategies for the Workers' Party in the upcoming elections? Let us know in the comment section below. And until next time, this is the Red Dot Perspective.